Danganronpa 1-2 Beautiful Days. Translated by Kamase Megane Translations. Narrated by Alex Redgrave. PDF by Sirius Seiko from the Game Surgery team. For those not in the know, Beautiful Days was a published anthology of fan-made stories, comics, and illustrations, similar to the comic anthologies, except centered around short stories. It is strictly non-canon, but it can be fun too. A note on Chihiro. Namely, an issue that became quickly obvious in translating Beautiful Days and will pose a problem for all the Danganronpa 1 stories. What pronoun should I use for Chihiro? In Japanese, it's much easier to avoid gendering a character than it is in English. In Japanese, these stories completely skip over using any gendered pronouns at all for Chihiro, if I remember correctly, but I don't have the same luxury unless I make the writing stilted, which I don't intend to do. I tried they, and while I support singular they in general, it read more like deliberately gendering Chihiro as non-binary, which was not the intention. Since many of these stories are from a general point of view or Naegi's point of view from before anyone dies, and there is no indication that any of them are aware of Chihiro's secret, I will be using female pronouns in most stories. The exception is the one story in which Chihiro is the main character, and so, because it follows his point of view, that story will have male pronouns. This note is simply to inform everyone that this is a choice I have made as a translator and not something that is in the original text one way or the other. Beautiful Days, Danganronpa 1. Eat some rice. If Naegi Makoto were super high school level hot-blooded. Story by Shima Yuki. Illustration by Asaki Taoru. Remember this translator's note. Danganronpa 1 spoilers. As Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann was my main fandom once upon a time, this story is particularly charming to me, so I hope you can enjoy it as well. Naegi Makoto is super high school level hot-blooded. Eh? Hot-blooded? That's not what I heard! Aren't you supposed to be a regular high school student with super high school level good luck and bad luck? What do you mean, don't sweat the details? Well, wait a minute! Let's set aside the matter of this black and white stuffed animal headmaster that's hot on our heels for the moment. I'll become your assistant, Naegi-kun. That morning, after bumping into him in the hallway and having a fumbling reunion straight out of a love comedy, the super high school level idol, Mizuno Sayaka, made this proclamation. Perhaps that was a fateful turning point in her life. Thanks, Mizuno-san! Naegi firmly grasped Mizuno's slender shoulders. Yeah! Mizuno let out a small shriek, but it wasn't due to the rough treatment. It was because of the heat in Naegi's super high school level hot-blooded hands. Though they felt hot enough to leave a burn, they wouldn't leave a mark on Mizuno's skin. Rather, that heat was the sort of heat that caused warm and fuzzy feelings to bubble up from the body's core. In this closed-off school, it would be easy to freeze in the chill of despair. This warmth was enough to revive the heart and set it aflame. Let's work together to get everyone out of this school! But I don't have any experience as an assistant, so I might not be able to help you, Naegi-kun. Well, it's not like I have any experience with this kind of thing either. But as long as I have you helping me, Mizuno-san, that's enough. If you only said the words, do your best, all of your fans across the country would all do their best, wouldn't they? This is no different. Sparkle. A refreshing smile appeared on Naegi's face, making him the very picture of youth. As if responding to that, a heartfelt smile appeared on Mizuno's face as well. Yes, I'll keep cheering you on and telling you to do your best, to keep the smiles on both of our faces forever. That's no good! This isn't just about me. You're an idol, aren't you? For all your fans across the country, no, across the world, you have to keep sending out a yell of do your best. But when we're locked in the school like this, no one can see. That's not true. Why are you giving up there? Even without being on the air, people can communicate emotion. And you, of all people, are everyone's idol. If you only think, do your best, everyone will do their best. The emotion will be conveyed. This time, rather than grasping Mizuno's shoulders, Naegi punctuated his speech by firmly grasping both of her hands. He had no basis or theory beyond his own words telling her, your encouragement will be conveyed. But Mizuno could feel an excessive amount of energy bubbling up from within herself. This is what it is to be super high school level hot-blooded. You're right. If I shout out, I am here, everyone will notice me. Everyone hasn't forgotten about me. There's no way they could ever forget you. After all, you're the super high school level idol, Mizuno Sayaka. Then I'll do my best and become the super high school level idol assistant. The two of them held hands, laughing and giggling as they span in circles. And so, Mizuno Sayaka became the super high school level hot-blooded idol. But our story doesn't end there. A single programmer wiretapped their conversation from her hiding place. I'm so moved. Just now, I was blown away by emotion. The person who jumped out, headphones around her neck, was the super high school level programmer, Fujisaki Chihiro. Her petite figure looked more like that of a middle school student, no, perhaps even an elementary school student, than a high school student. Her wide dark eyes, reminiscent of a small animal's, were glittering. I'm so sorry for listening on the two of you without permission, but that was so inspiring. I've always been weak. I mean, like this. I look cute, and I'm protected by everyone, but I won't look cute anymore. I want to become strong and sturdy. Why are you abandoning being cute? Excuse me? Fujisaki stared blankly back at Naegi after he suddenly raised his voice. The newly hot-blooded idol, Mizuno, watched Naegi, entranced, as roaring flames leapt up behind him. Incidentally, this took place in the hallway of the school dorms, but even with people speaking so loudly, no one came out to look. In truth, everyone was hiding away in their rooms, holding their breath. None of them wanted to get involved. Isn't it sad to discard your cute self? But if I want to become strong, then being cute... You can become strong even if you're cute. Become strong while you're cute. Why won't you try your best for that? Cute and yet strong. Strong but cute. This is the universal moe. The strongest cuteness. Wouldn't you agree? The conversation had taken a kind of weird turn, but then, that is correct, said Yamada Hifumi as he leapt out into the hallway. It was the super high school level doujin artist. Strong cuties are this world's most valuable resource, Naegi Makoto Dono. I see. So you feel the same way, Yamada-kun. However, to be strong and yet cute is a phenomenon seen only in the 2D realm. So, regretfully, in the 3D realm... Why are you giving up there? Naegi's passion flared up with a BAM! And Yamada staggered, saying, The sun is so bright to a shut-in like me. Naegi thrust his finger forward to point at Yamada. This doesn't have anything to do with 2D or 3D. When you draw your manga with passion, those characters exist in people's hearts. That's the same as them being alive. My characters being 3D? No way, no way! Yamada trembled in fear, cowering on the floor, but Naegi set a hand on his shoulder. As Yamada raised his head, Naegi showed him a smile brimming with affection. "What are you so afraid of? Aren't those the characters that you brought into the world? Then wouldn't you say that you are their father and their older brother, that you are family, that you are siblings?" "Siblings? Little sister? Oni-chan!" This time, Yamada trembled not in fear, but in delight. His great fat face shook, gradually becoming clearly not the movements of a human, but those of a mysterious life form X. "Oh, that's right! I will protect my little sister with my own hands, as her Oni-chan! Right! I'm sure you'll become the strongest Oni-chan in the world!" As Yamada breathed in sync with Naegi's hot-bloodedness, his eyes burned with roaring flames. And so, the super high school level Oni-chan, aka the super high school level hot-blooded doujin author, was born. Amazing! I can't believe Mizuno-san and Yamada-kun would both change to be hot-blooded. I can become hot and strong too, right? Then I'll burn while being cute. I'll heat up! After watching the exchange between Naegi and Yamada, Fujisaki became increasingly blown away by emotion, and she cried out in a voice that was almost unbelievably different from her normal voice, resounding throughout the school. Undoubtedly, it was the voice of an animal crying out as hot-blooded as the center of the earth. That was the moment the super high school level hot-blooded programmer was born. In that moment, Fujisaki's hot-blooded program ran wild, hacking into the school's surveillance system, driving Monokuma insane in front of the surveillance monitors, but that was something that no one was privy to the knowledge of. Then, that night, it happened at the cafeteria. "If there is no bread, then let them eat sweets." Due to a blunder of Monokuma's, the stock of bread hadn't been replenished, and only sweets were in stock. So declared the super high school level gambler, Celestia Ludenberg, when confronted with such a situation. Just like the Queen of France declared with elegance, as if unbothered by the revolutionaries closing in on her. "You've got that wrong!" Immediately, an objection resounded throughout the cafeteria, aka, "You've got that wrong!" It was the voice of Naegi Makoto. He closed in on Celeste with intensity as she sat elegantly in her chair drinking her tea. Even being closed in on at such close proximity, Celeste's expression remained unchanged, deliberately ignoring him. However, Naegi's burning eyes shot out heat rays of sorts, and the cup she held cracked with a sharp noise. It was only to be expected that Celeste looked at Naegi after that, and without a moment's delay, he pointed at her. "If you're Japanese, then eat some rice!" There is no elegance in rice. Brioche and tea suit me just... Of course bread is good too, and I won't deny the fragrance of tea, but as a Japanese person especially, you should know the elegance of rice. Cook koshihikari rice from Onama and delicious water from Ruko. Pour gyokuro green tea from Kyoto all over it and enjoy. Wash only the tips of the chopsticks for tinkling clinks. Even slurping is almost a soothing sound when a princess enjoys her ochazuke. And I think that's elegance. Incidentally, eggplant is only one option for the pickled vegetable, declared Naegi, giving Celeste a shock to her system. Until now, her personal favorite had been Versailles, a queen wearing an elegant rococo dress. But now, her image was that of a furisode-clad princess in a Japanese-style castle, sipping ochazuke, with a slurp that would be impolite in Western countries. That was an elegance that defied explanation, is what she thought. The Japanese-style world. I had no idea. It's fine that you didn't, because you can find out about it starting now. You can find out about the White Heron Castle and hermitages, too. And then you can become queen of both the East and the West. Queen of the world! My, how wonderful! Queen of both the East and the West. Queen of the world. I shall do so. You are speaking with the woman who has never lost at poker or blackjack. Celeste laughed triumphantly. And so, the super high school level hot-blooded gambler was born. Are you an idiot? Such an insult came from the super high school level baseball player, Kuwata Leon. But he is supposedly aiming to become a rock star. Hot-bloodedness and guts and stuff aren't going to help anything. I could play baseball without that kind of thing. The plain truth was that without even a drop of sweat or tears during practice, he possessed such merit that he was the ace player and the fourth batter, gaining attention from scouts throughout the world. There's no point to that stuff. Sweat and tears. He spoke of them with contempt. He was disgusted by passionate coaching that went beyond the bare minimum, messy camaraderie, and an almost religious idealism. You've got that wrong! However, saying only this one phrase, Naegi tossed Kuwata a racket. It wasn't a bat, but a racket for some reason. Now then, Kuwata-kun, receive my heated emotions! Why is it a racket instead of a bat or a glove? Ah! What exploded from there was not the 1,000 knocks of Naegi's love, but the 1,000 hot-blooded serves. Instead of balls, it was blood oranges that flew hard and fast, hitting the wall behind Kuwata and creating pink, blood-like stains. It was a ferocious, instantaneous attack. The wall was dyed completely pink, and Kuwata weakly sunk to his knees into that pink puddle. I can't believe someone like me couldn't even return a single ball at tennis, he muttered, dumbfounded. Even if it wasn't baseball, he couldn't believe he could be lagging behind in any ball-related sport. It can't be helped that you couldn't receive even a single one. Just now, I hit those with my love and passion. In contrast, you only paid attention to the racket, trying to return with nothing but your technical skill and body. If you're served something heartfelt, there's no meaning to returning it unless it's also from the heart. From the heart. This time, Kuwata was astonished. As Naegi looked his way, both his eyes were burning with roaring flames. It reminded Kuwata even more of that anime that he hated deep down, that hot-blooded baseball Bible. But now, those flames surely dwelled inside of Kuwata's heart. Those flames he hated so much he could just die. That's right, Kuwata-kun. You're aiming for the stars. Naegi knelt down next to where Kuwata was crouched, putting an arm around his shoulders and pointing towards the heavens. They shouldn't have been able to see anything but the cafeteria ceiling, but for the two of them looking up, they saw the glittering stars of the night sky. Yes, the stars. Can't you see them? The star of hope, the star of passion, and then the star of the Prince of Baseball. Yeah! I can see him, Naegi! I'll be aiming for that! I'll be a singing, dancing baseball ace, fourth batter prince! At some point, the meaning of the stars he was aiming for changed somewhat, but there were flames in both of their eyes. And then, Celeste, who had just now become a fellow resident of the Star of Passion, hidden where she was sitting, covered her face as she looked over the two of them, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ah, Celeste Ni-chan. And so, the super high school level hot-blooded baseball player was born. Lame. You guys, let me tell it to you straight. You're lame! The one shouting this out was the super high school level Gyaru, Enoshima Junko. While the cafeteria had fallen into a lull with the two getting fired up and aiming for the stars, and Celeste crying sorrowfully, she made a clamor as if to shatter the silence. Hard work or endurance or whatever is just gonna make you stinky and smelly. And this star stuff and eating rice doesn't make any sense. And if it doesn't make sense to me, that means it's not in style. It's lame. It's uncool. Getting so serious. So uncool, she said. But she herself seemed seriously desperate. Yes, it seemed as if she was trying to frantically deny something. So, Naegi gave a gentle smile, brimming with affection as he spoke. That's right, Enoshima-san. So you admit it, Naegi? You admit you're uncool and lame? No, you've got that wrong! Enoshima-san, despite all that, you're thinking that it's wonderful to work hard and endure. Actually, you want to do it yourself. What are you saying? Hard work? Endurance? I wouldn't. Training. Combat. Enoshima muttered almost incoherently at Naegi, gripping her shoulders tightly and swaying, body trembling. It's fine to be uncool. Those who work hard always look beautiful. Yes, even your freckles, even your flat chest is cute. It was hard to tell if he was insulting her or not, but nevertheless, Enoshima's cheeks turned red at Naegi's words. My freckles and lack of chest are cute. I don't know what kind of face I should make at a time like this. I think smiling is fine. As Naegi smiled sweetly at her, Enoshima as well gave a sweet smile, free from any worry. And then, for some reason, she took out an army knife and said, You won't die. I'll protect you. And so, the super high school level hot-blooded Gyaru was born. Even after that, Naegi's hot-blooded kindness terrorism continued on. The super high school level swimmer, Asahina Aoi, and the super high school level martial artist, Ogami Sakura, were already athletic types by nature. Without any of Naegi's hot-blooded speeches being necessary, it was just the natural flow of things for the three of them to grasp hands firmly. I knew you two would understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, it's obvious you're going to need hard work and guts and hot-bloodedness to swim, and I just want a bright smile on my face as I eat donuts. As Asahina smiled, her close friend Sakura nodded with a serene smile of her own. Even my path requires hot-bloodedness. A heart in battle must be perfectly still, with not a single ripple. Nevertheless, one cannot forget passion. They all nodded at once, and so the hot-blooded swimmer and hot-blooded martial artist were born even more than before. Then, the transformation into hot-bloodedness for the super high school level fortune teller, Hagakure Yasuhiro, was perhaps good timing, or perhaps pure chance. Whoa! Burning up! Burning up! My crystal ball's burning up! That's it! That future burning with passion is the future of all of us! Naegichi! If that's the case, everyone's gonna burn to death! That's wrong! The phoenix goes up in flames and rises anew from the ashes left behind! This is that future of reincarnation! The flames of passion will never burn out! Well, my divinations have a 30% accuracy rate. If they were all right, that'd be ESP. Why can't they all be right? No, you just don't think they're right! Miracles happen to those who believe in them! Eat some rice, and freshwater clam, and rainbow trout. Hey, Naegi-chi, you're not making any sense. Well, if it's right if you think it's right, then if I think I got it right, then I got it right. That's right! And so, the super high school level hot-blooded fortune teller was, technically, born. And then, that night, there was a sauna showdown. Yes, the sauna room in the dorms. Both the super high school level gang leader, Oada Mondo, and the super high school level hall monitor, Ishimaru Kiyotaka, were there. And then, for some reason, so was Naegi Makoto. The hot-blooded wedged his way between the gang leader and hall monitor's showdown. If you cleanse your mind of worldly thoughts, then even fire is cool and refreshing. That's what they say. And if my heart is burning, then no sauna is gonna feel hot to me! The gang leader and hall monitor were no match for Naegi, burning up in a roar of flames, and they collapsed from the heat. And then... You've really got some guts. I never met anyone who'd set themselves on fire or anything. Ha 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 ha! Naegi-kun, I too felt your burning spirit! When the two awoke, somehow inspired, they took both of Naegi's hands, grasping them. Naegi, too, was glistening with sweat as he showed them a refreshing smile. I felt your passion, too! By now, we are brothers! Then, Owada-kun, you can be the second oldest brother. I'm fine with being the youngest. And so, they pressed up shoulder to shoulder, smiling. The sweltering, hot-blooded brother trio was born. Then, appearing in front of the last hurdle to overcome, Togami Byakuya, the super high school level heir, was... I won't let you get close to Byakuya-sama! This hot-bloodedness is sweltering! This is the reason why there's global warming! Super high school level negativity, aka literary girl, Fukawa Toko. Even though her fingertip was shaking as she thrust it forward to point at Naegi, she said, I'm shaking! At this rate, I'm going to lose! No, I mean, I've been a loser my whole life, so I can't lose any more than I have already! Until it was no longer clear whether she was being pessimistic or optimistic. She screamed for no apparent reason, curling up, and suddenly whipping her head back up to say, Anyway, if you're hot-blooded, I'm cold-blooded. I'm the exact opposite of someone sunny like you because I live in the shadows. Before grabbing on to Naegi. Hard work, willpower. Ah, how nice. How nice. If you do your best and keep doing your best and keep doing your best, you get back exactly as much as you put in, don't you? So I gave my readers that tiny bit of hope, but I still didn't get anything in return. Not a single miracle happened. No flowers bloomed. No fruit ripened. No dreams came true. No lovers were brought together. This is the reality of literature. It's not really a matter of bad luck. This kind of thing happens all the time. Most people in this world aren't rewarded. 10% of people are successful, 70% are ordinary, and 20% are defeated. Isn't that just the way society works? As to be expected of the literary girl, the reality she was pushing was certainly realistic. Of course, Naegi's hot-bloodedness couldn't work under the heavy weight of the world. Or so she thought. And so what? She was crushed with just that one phrase. Faced with Naegi's utterly steadfast demeanor and burning eyes, Fukawa said, flustered, Reality is reality. What has happened cannot be changed. I'll acknowledge that. See? No matter how hot-blooded you are, you can't change reality. Yes, reality cannot be changed. However, if you don't give up there and don't get discouraged, your burning heart can't be broken. If you believe there are no endings in life, you can take on countless challenges. But if your life ends while you're being a challenger like that, then it's all over. As to be expected of negativity, aka the literary girl, she was now pushing an even more bitter ending, where dreams don't come true. However, it doesn't matter if it ends. I still wouldn't have given up or been discouraged. How self-satisfied. Even if not a single person acknowledged you? It wouldn't come to that. At the very least, I acknowledge myself. If you won't acknowledge yourself, then what? If you don't tell yourself to do your best, then what? You are your own greatest ally. I cheer myself on, and I acknowledge myself. Even at the same time as you tell yourself that's no good in anger whenever you fail, you lecture yourself by saying, do your best. When you still get discouraged and break down in tears, even so, you hold yourself at night as you go to sleep and say, you did a good job. But as soon as it's morning again and the start of a new day, you rise with the sun and it becomes do your best again. And then, when your life comes to an end, when you close your eyes, you can praise yourself by saying, you did a really, really good job. I have not a single regret for my life. At that time, even though there were supposedly iron plates nailed onto all the windows in the school, light poured down from the heavens, illuminating Naegi as he raised one hand to the sky. Watching this, Ogami Sakura spontaneously let slip a mysterious murmur, something like, "Oh, Master, oh." Super positive thinking! I can't do something as terrible as acknowledging myself and praising myself! Fukawa slumped to the floor. To someone as super gloomy and super negative as her, this was a frightful foe. A demon that would never turn its back. It doesn't matter if you don't feel like praising yourself. Even if you keep looking behind you, if you keep on doing it, eventually you'll end up facing forward. And even if you sink down into the ocean, if you cut through the Earth's mantle, you'll have taken the fastest route to Rio de Janeiro on the other side of the world. Again, whether it was because of him making no sense, or because of his sheer forcefulness, or his non-consensual Genki injection, as Naegi spoke and gripped Fukawa's hand tightly, she screamed, "Gah!" They say, even if it's not a deep-sea fish, human body temperatures feel so hot to a fish that if you touch them, it will burn. That was the sort of sensation that Fukawa felt. This was the dazzling, shining light of the sun that Fukawa had kept turning her back on. That light enveloped her entire body, trembling as it spoke. Even when you completely turned your back on the world in your thoughts, you wrote words that moved people. That's fine. It's fine that way. Even if you stay that way, you won't become any more unhappy than you already are, and things won't get any worse. That's true strength, and it's wonderful. So if you keep moving backwards like this, that's just like if you faced forward and never gave up. Before you know it, the shadow will turn into light. That's right. The light and the shadows are two sides of the same coin. The stronger the light, the darker the shadow. So it grows along with the light. Ah, I'm that shadow, forever a shadow. But I'll be a shadow that keeps moving forward without ever giving up. And so, the super high school level hot-blooded literary girl was born. Then, the next one was even tougher. Hard work and willpower. How pointless. I'm perfect even without acting so frantic, said the super high school level heir, Togami Byakuya. He really was the textbook example of perfection, and found no use for sweat or tears on the way to success. I have already been perfect. Unnecessary heatedness is useless. It is because people are inferior that they use that hot-bloodedness and the like in order to compensate. I won't deny you all, but I won't be joining you. He lounged comfortably in his chair, crossing his legs as he glared down at everyone. He was the perfect picture of an emperor, a cool beauty who left no room for anyone to say, "How hot-blooded." A blizzard barrier of absolute zero could even be seen surrounding him. It didn't look like worldly hot-bloodedness or Naegi had anything to grab onto, but... "You've got that wrong, Togami-kun!" Here it was, a super high school level hot-blooded sudden plot twist. Even if he had nothing to grab onto, his fist burned bright red as he sunk his fingers in by force to create a lead. You might more commonly say that he just bulldozed through, but it's best not to think about it too much. Why do you think that you're perfect? What are you saying? I am perfect, no matter what angle you look at me from. Yes, you're definitely superior and amazing. You can study harder than I can, and I'm sure even your reflexes are impeccable. That goes without saying. There is nothing I cannot do. So then, do you plan on just doing nothing from now on? If you say you're perfect, then you can just lean back in your executive chair and soak up the sun like a senior citizen, spacing out all day, right? You must be joking if you think I would do nothing. To start with, the chair I deserve to sit in isn't something as insignificant as the chair of an executive. From here on out, I shall extend the reach of the Togami conglomerate throughout the world. No, the world is already in our grasp. From here on out, please extend your hand into space. Byakuya-sama. Not that, but I shall journey into the economy of the stars. Togami uncrossed his legs and stood up suddenly from his chair. The midnight sun was standing here on Earth. That's right, Togami-kun! You aren't perfect at all! If you were perfect, there would be no problem with doing nothing! What did you say? Togami was astonished. It was because he couldn't refute Naegi's point. If he were perfect, then he wouldn't need to move a finger. But he kept himself moving. The moment you think I'm perfect is the moment you're doomed to never achieve any more growth. In fact, you start regressing. So you're right to keep moving forward, and you're not perfect. You're growing, Togami-kun. You keep moving forward and forward into tomorrow, coughing up blood. You're beautiful. As Naegi continued saying such things to him, grasping both of his hands with a firm and heated grip, Togami no longer looked as if he might argue. His own sweltering heart eroded him. That's right. I shall not stagnate. I may be perfect, but I shall keep striving towards even greater perfection. He clenched his fists, carrying roaring flames in his eyes. This is where the super high school level hot-blooded heir was born. If even Togami had fallen, there was only one more person left. No, one animal. Maybe we should just say there was a head count of one. Monokuma was surrounded by everyone gathering in the gymnasium, flustered by their burning eyes. Why'd you bastards all get fire in your eyes? It's dangerous to play with fire. I'm gonna wet the bed. Yeah! Before he even had time to exact a punishment, eye lasers flashed out from everyone's burning eyes, and the headmaster was left a burnt and blackened piece of scrap metal. Ta-da! I won't die, no matter how many times you... Monokuma began to speak as he popped up on top of the podium on the gym stage, but the hot-blooded group glared at him, and he was burnt to a crisp again, tumbling off the stage. Hey! Isn't it awful to just bust out with fry 'em up, right? Monokumas kept jumping out one after another, but they were instantly met with heat rays, meeting the same fate as the companions that preceded them. Quit it already! Stop! I don't have any spares! The final Monokuma fell from the stage with a wobble and crumbled into dust with a splatter. Then, as wicked despair fell silent, one would think that this was the advent of hope in the school, but... An undisclosed location within the school. The girl who had been flying solo, and the only one who remained unscathed, said, "Hot-bloodedness is even more of a problem than despair." Sighed the super high school level Kirigiri Kyoko. Keeping herself at a distance, she alone managed to make it through without getting dragged into that hot-blooded maelstrom. It was rather strange to think that energy and heatedness alone could win against all of the super high school level students in succession. "You're terrifying, Naegi Makoto." "That's not true, Kirigiri-san! It's here! The hot-blooded monster!" Despite her cool composure, her voice bordered on a scream. The shutter rose slowly, and with it, the silhouette of Naegi's petite figure also rose into view. "Now then, in the end, you're the only one left!" Kirigiri was seized with a dread, a shadow falling over her face. The world was painted over, hot-blooded. It was a dream. Naegi woke up with a start, catching his breath. This was the bed he'd fallen asleep in yesterday. It didn't seem like anything had changed in the dorms in the lockdown school. He'd even been woken up by Monokuma's irritating voice telling them to "Get up, you bastards!" What a strange dream that was. Yes, what a strange, nightmare that was. To think that he could become so swelteringly, embarrassingly hot-blooded, take on everyone one by one, and give them that same kind of energy. It was all a dream. After reassuring himself of this, Naegi left his room. As he did, he ran into Mizuno. Then, the AV room. Naegi was the first to watch one of the DVDs Monokuma had prepared for everyone. As he watched the video intended for him, Naegi's face grew whiter and whiter until it passed through to become blue. His face was sweaty, his hands were sweaty, and his whole body shook. There on the LCD screen was what he'd seen this morning. Himself, acting so embarrassing that he wanted to disappear. That figure, so hot and so sultry. Watching him from an objective standpoint, it was impossible to follow his logic. How could he win arguments by shoving that embarrassing reasoning down everyone's throats? No, he couldn't have been this embarrassing earlier. There was no way. This was his dark past. The video suddenly cut off. Then, he could hear the footsteps of people coming towards the AV room. Was that not a dream, but reality? If there was a video left behind, then that's right. There was no mistaking it. Everyone saw me being so embarrassing. Everyone wanted it to be a dream. There was no way it could be real. If everyone remembers that... That was the moment. The sinister feeling of mutual killing sprouted within Naegi. Footnotes. 1. The idiom used in Japanese is Iwashi no atama mo shinjin kara, which literally means something like, even a sardine head comes from a faithful heart. It's a reference to the Japanese setsuban tradition of putting up sardine heads as a superstitious precaution. Anyway, that's probably why Naegi tangents off into seafood. 2. The last line of Naegi's speech up to this citation is all a reference to Raoul from Fist of the North Star. 3. Byakuya's name is the Japanese word for the midnight sun. Since the context was so celestial, I assume it was meant to be a pun. Also, I didn't bother putting in notes for every single thing mentioned in the conversation with Celestia, but you can just Google those.